Welcome to Evergreen Learning Spotlight. Today we're visiting with 3 teachers from Heritage High School about the workshop model. Let's meet them now. Joining me is Joanne Morrow, the instructional coach, Matt Kessler, who teaches social studies in Avid, and Janine Christensen, who teaches English. Welcome. Joanne, why don't you tell us briefly about the workshop model and how you're using it at Heritage High School?
I would be glad to. Workshop model is actually a professional development that's being done across the district in all the schools by all the teachers. It's just being done slightly differently in all the buildings. Heritage High School has chosen to model their professional development training around workshop by doing labs, small cadres of teachers who focus their attention on a specific lesson, build specific learning targets, and really analyze student learning, what it looks like and what it sounds like when they're learning, so that we can learn from that and reproduce that more often.
Great. So Matt, why change? Why use workshop? Why not use the traditional method of teaching?
I think the traditional method of teaching was really focused on the teacher and what the teacher is doing in the classroom, and the workshop model helps us shift to look at what the students are doing in the classroom and how they're interacting with their work.
Great. So Janine, how long have you been training in the workshop model, and have you been able to use it in your class?
I've been training in the workshop model for the past 2 years along with Joanne Morrow. Joanne's been my instructional coach and aiding me along the way as we journey through the workshop model at Heritage High School. And so I have been very fortunate to partake in one of Joanne's cadres over the past 2 years to get lots of experience in the classroom using the model, and also sharing with my colleagues by being a studio classroom and inviting others to come in and watch.
Great. So I understand we sent a camera out to Heritage, and why don't you tell us what we're going to see on these clips?
Sure. Tuesday, the day that the cameras came, was an actual workshop lab day. So the camera recorded what was going on in a workshop lab. In all of the periods, what you will see are teachers focusing learning, students broken into groups to work on specific learning targets. Especially in the last clip, you will see those targets written on the board, and the teacher assessing at the end of the lesson whether students actually did hit their target.
Great. Well, let's take a look at the clip now.
It needs to be a description word for that stage. What is the key component of that stage? This is also a contest. You have 4 minutes. Go. Start.
How we doing? You guys working together okay? Yeah. Having fun, risky behaviors. Ooh. All right, keep going. It's a good start. 2 minutes remaining, less than 2 minutes. How we doing? How about, let's start with this. You two come up with names for those stages. You two came up with names for these stages, and then we'll share out. We got some good discussion over here. Netbook should still be down.
Yeah, kid.
So we have voluntary?
Voluntary, risk, warning, withdrawal. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Write it down.
Do we get 5 points?
Write down the names on their slips once you have it. So how would you describe that stage? What would you call it? Okay, we got addiction. What about these two? Okay, write it down.
And we actually kind of changed our community a little bit from changing from being in the school in our classroom to our community in our classroom in here. And we came up with our Heritage High School community goals and targets that we think are important for us to be able to be good members of our high school community. When you get this, you put your names on your paper, then you are for the rest of the time going to, as a group, with your poster board, plan your tree community. Get the supplies back there. You are welcome to any of those supplies. If you need to go to some of these supplies, you are welcome to. But your goal, remember, is to work as a team, working together to do that. Did you make the outline?
Yes.
You did? That was a really, really nice job with your outline. Megan, you know what? I'm thinking that part might be green. More. Is that part green?
No.
The tree?
Yeah.
Oh, you're supposed to color it Oh, the bottom one.
Will you come over and show her, Stephen? That'd be really. Oh, there you go.
Yep, just use your nice words and they'll listen to you, Stephen, if you use your nice words.
So maybe you should kind of help supervise over here.
Christina, you look like you just ate something sour. What are you doing at? Group one, Stephen, Danny, Megan, I really like how you guys are working together to make that tree. All of you are working all at the same time on the same project. That is really neat.
So today, that's what we're going to reflect on. Here's your I can statements. I can answer questions frequently asked in job interviews. I can create questions for job interviews. And your goal is, I am going to answer questions that reflect who I am for a job interview. What we're going to do is at your table, you see that there are 3 of you. One will be the interviewer. One will be the interviewee. And then one will be the evaluator of the interviewee's questions. You have 5 minutes to conduct the interview. 5 minutes. And good luck, everyone, and begin.
Hi, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Irina.
I'm Kayla. Nice to meet you, Irina. Can I sit?
Yeah. So tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm a hard worker. I'm captain of my soccer team for Heritage. I'm a graduated for 2015. I'm possibly...
I would like the responder to take time and share with the person. And then I also want the person that just did the interview to ask the responder questions. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that before the next person stands up.
You said you need a little more eye contact. Just kind of look at your hands and then lift up and down.
Yeah.
But you're like, you know, I was like, but other than that, it was good.
How many of you feel like today was at least semi-helpful? At least. How many say it was extremely helpful? At most. Okay. So raise your hand if you have, are you more confident about going into Thursday's interview? Yeah? Because I think that was our goal, wasn't it?
Well, I think that really demonstrated it. So Matt, are there certain classes or particular parts of a classroom lesson that work especially well with workshop model?
You know, I think all classes benefit from this model, especially when we focus students on that problem-solving model. We're getting them into the work, they're the ones asking the questions and really trying to find the solutions. That's really powerful learning.
All right, so Janine, turning that question around, are there things in the classroom that don't work well with workshop?
To be honest, I don't think that there is anything that doesn't really work with workshop, because I think that you can really take workshop and you can mold it and fit it into virtually any discipline, whatever you're teaching within any classroom. And so it's something that I think that for every teacher, they can get a feel for it and they can make it fit in their classroom.
So what do you think the greatest benefit of workshop model is?
I think the greatest benefit of workshop model is being able to see your students communicate, engage in dialogue, and they are the ones who are actually doing the reading, the writing, the thinking. And as a teacher, I feel like I'm more of the facilitator rather than somebody who is there that is trying to pull them along. Instead, they're doing it on their own.
Great. So Matt, what's the hardest part about the workshop model?
For me, it's timing. Try to figure out a way to protect the time at the end of the period for debrief. And there are days where, I mean, pedagogy is an art, and so there's sometimes where you just have to, in that moment, realize that I have to let some things go, to let some learning happen that we can't recapture. And then sometimes we have to, make those tough decisions. So the debrief, I think, is always the hardest, because the end of the period creeps up on you, and you want to save some time for kids to think out loud and reflect out loud. And so sometimes keeping track of that's the toughest part.
Now, you're talking about the debrief, and I know you also do observations and kind of like a pre-brief with your classes. How do you incorporate all that into the lesson?
We had an opportunity to work together in our cadres and do a pre-brief and really think about our lessons together with Joe. And the benefit to that was that we saw really well-laid plans not go very well, and also really well-laid plans go very well. So It's never perfect. Learning is messy, and it'll always be messy. But doing that reflection on both sides has been really, really helpful.
So Janine, how about you? How do you use the debrief, the pre-brief, the observations? How are you using that in your classroom?
I'm using the pre-brief and the debrief observations, enhancing my classroom, that I'm able to take that feedback, that immediate feedback, and be able to try it again the next day. Like Matt said, that sometimes things are messy and learning can be messy, but at the same time, it's important to learn from others and be able to share with others.
So does it change your classroom lesson for the next day? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay.
I think that you take a little bit of what other people advice and just things that went well and didn't go well, and reflect on that.
Great. So Joanne, do you think workshop model is an effective tool for teaching, and would you recommend it, like if another district asked you about it? Kind of what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, if you walk into a real workshop classroom where students are actively engaged in their learning, where they're doing the reading and the writing and the talking and the thinking and the learning, you feel it. There's like a hum in the room, and you can't really describe it, but you can sense it, and you know that students are engaged with their learning. They've lost track of time. They're learning how to ask questions and find their own answers to their questions. And you see teachers and the students see the teachers circulating in the room as their facilitators, as their mentors, and you see that all students are being given that access to that learning. And yes, it's really effective. And it's what we want for all students and for all teachers. And if we are parents, it's what we want for our own children and for our grandchildren.
That's great. So what percentage of teachers at Heritage are teaching using the workshop model?
All teachers at Heritage and throughout the district in all the schools are in some phase of workshop implementation. We like to believe in our building that our labs are accelerating the implementation and providing significant professional opportunities for teachers to grow because of the dialogue, because of the analyzing of the data that's taken during the labs, and because of the structure that Sam Bennett has provided for us.
So speaking of data, you know, the question everybody always wants to know, is the data, what's it showing about? Is this working?
Well, you know, collecting data is something that we're doing all the time now, and Heritage also collects data you know, we do surveys, we collect feedback from our PLCs.
Which are?
Our professional learning communities, who are collaborating once a week actively. They're assessing student learning, they're assessing student assessments, they're co-planning and providing feedback back to us. Even our state standard feedback from OSPI is data that we use to measure our growth. And you know, I don't know that you know that next week Heritage High School is being given the Exemplary Award of Academic Achievement in the area of improvement, and we like to think that workshop has been a part of earning that.
That's great. So Matt, what kind of results are you observing in your classroom?
You know, the hard data for me is that I've seen in real numbers the percentage of students failing my class diminished. It's gotten smaller. The soft data, the stuff that you can't really account for, is what I call lingering. I have students that have been in the past, you would still consider a disenfranchised learner, will stay after class and talk about these concepts and I'm like, you got to go to your next class, and you don't. I never saw that under the traditional model, but you get these kids talking, you get them excited about what they're learning, and you see that more and more as kids are engaged with what they're learning.
What about you, Janine? Are you seeing a difference in your classroom?
Like Matt, I think that I've seen my number of failing students decrease. And in addition to that, I think that aside from the lingering, I've seen that you have the soft-spoken, the quiet students who don't really participate on their own accord, but when you put them in a smaller workshop environment, a group where they're dialoguing with maybe 3 or 4 other students, you actually hear them contribute and you hear them have meaningful things to say and things that you ordinarily wouldn't get if you are just calling on random students throughout a classroom. And so I think that that's kind of something that's been really interesting that I've noticed and observed in my classes.
It sounds exciting. So what's next? What happens next year with the workshop model at Heritage High School?
Well, we are asking for more training, and we're collecting feedback to support that request, and we're looking forward to more implementation and continuing to work with the model.
So is there anything else about workshop model you would like our community to know, or have we pretty much covered it all?
Well, I just would like to end on one parting note, and it's a quote from Sam Bennett because she says it so well. You know, teaching is an incredibly complex endeavor, and no one has it nailed. But we can always get smarter to get better for our students, and we believe that workshop helps us to get better.
That's great. I want to thank the three of you for joining me today, and good luck with the rest of the school year.
Thank you.
Thanks.